Welcome back to another episode of Demons and Gentlemen. I am TattedAlpha. This is
Greg.
just Greg.
Just Greg.
We want to first off say thank you guys for tuning in, checking out the episodes, and following along. But with that being said, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and give us a rating and drop your comments below. You guys aren't dropping any comments. We like feedback. Tell us what we're doing right. Tell us what we're doing wrong. Tell us how ugly we look. We don't care. We do care. But anyways, diving into the next episode. This one, we say every episode that they're all interesting, but this one's kind of a different take on it, I would say.
Oh yeah.
Than the usual.
Oh, for sure. Well, before we really dive into it, I want to thank a couple of people really quick for tuning in and spreading the word a little bit.
Yeah.
Charles, you know who you are. Thank you for listening and tuning in. And two, Phil Pott, my man out there all the way from Nebraska, showing some love. Nebraska. Shucking some corn and shit. But no, also, yeah. No, but you, congrats to you and your wife as well for, starting your cafe and your coffee shop. Hopefully I can get out there and support you guys sometime. That's really awesome. So congrats on that. But wanted to shout that out real quick.
Hell yeah. All right. So this week we are talking about, just to lay it all out there, we're going to talk about the demon of the month.
I have some.
You could break that down. Yeah. Well, you could break that down. Demon of the week, demon of the day. But we're going to do demon of the month. And
I left some in your toilet not long ago.
Well, there are many, many, many forms of demons that we battle. That's for sure. That's for certain.
I was fighting mine.
That's probably the daily demon there, especially
IBS.
you men, is the coffee shits or the energy
the
drink
monsters
shits.
No, but absolutely, brother. There's been a lot. Actually, I mean, how long has it been since we've been together? It's been a long month. A lot of big things have changed and have happened.
As far as you guys know, it's been 3 weeks, but it's been longer than that.
I know, it's been a minute. I mean,
it's been about a month.
Has it?
It's been 3.5 weeks.
God, that's right. There's a lot to catch up on.
It was before
Labor Day,
her vacation. So yeah, it's been about a month.
Or no, it was right at Labor Day, wasn't it? Yeah, it's been a long month.
Yeah, it has. That's the thing. We saw each other at the beginning of the month. Now we're seeing each other at the end of the month.
Wild. Goes by so quick.
It's just like the cycle, Every once a month, I got to deal with your ass.
Wow. You just compared me to a uterus. Thank you. You're so nice to me.
I love you guys.
I'm going to have to update my list.
I love you guys. That's the thing that Brent said. I'm not. You got a list for me too?
Well, yeah.
Oh, nice.
I need a list.
New name in the phone last time.
Well, his list is funny shit. Yours is just how mean you are to me. It's different.
Oh, that's a very long list.
It's apparently a long list, yeah. But no, great topic actually today to for some stuff to dive into. I'm curious to know your thoughts and like kind of what's been going on this month, particularly for you.
There's been quite a bit. So just to kind of give you a synopsis and everything, Demon of the Month, we'll give a few examples and then we'll kind of dive into some, I think, to kind of lay the playing field. Personal vices being one. The comparison, I think, is probably the biggest one that we all face. That seems to be, especially in the social media age, it seems to be such a big demon that we always face is comparison, not only to others, but to lifestyles and
different things
and materialistic things or whatever.
It actually has been tearing me up this month.
Really?
Yeah. So
we can start with that one.
Yeah. No, it was one of the notes that I took down is one. So like it's been a combination of two things, kind of navigating into this new chapter of my life that I'm in, and
yeah, a lot of changes.
So I'm like getting used to some things and used to those changes, and so I was kind of thinking in my head like, wow, I'm headed into my 30s. Yes, I'm 30 now, by the way.
He finally joined the club.
I joined the club. But no, I like in these new changes and some of these things, I'm trying to be intentional about what I do next. And it's actually really interesting because I'm kind of having to start over in some regard. And I had those thoughts come in, like, am I where I'm supposed to be going into my 30s? This isn't what I had planned. I'm starting over. And I was kind of beating myself over that start over, because it's like, damn, you had all this stuff in your mind that you thought was going to happen, and now I'm having to pivot and take it a different direction, and that's been really interesting. And then with that comes some stressors and some things just from the adjustments, and most of those stressors are just the new lifestyle changes and whatnot. But then, you get onto social media, and I typically am not one to do that. It doesn't never really bother me very much, but this month in particular, going on there and seeing those videos of those people who do those Sunday resets, and it looks like they seemingly have everything together, or people who post about their dedication to their, fitness and diet and all these other things, or, those couple influencers where they're like, oh, this is our life, this is what we do, and this is our plans and goals and all these things. Right now, that shit's hitting a little bit different for me, and it's actually it kind of got me in my head a bit. So I went on this little hiatus from social media where I'm not really using it all that much right now.
I think all that's pretty common and natural, and I think for me, in terms of the comparisons and stuff, especially with social media and everything, I think where I make my comparisons is probably more so in, which I know is not true, but I probably make my comparisons more so with the fact that it looks like these couples or these people have everything together. Obviously, we portray majority of the positives and things on social media and the highlights and everything. It's more like a highlight reel in sports versus you show your good plays and your bad plays, the sports analogy. And, there are some creators and things and people that show all of it, the nitty gritty, the dirty, the bad, the good, and, respect to them, but not everybody does. And it's also easy because of our perception to just look at something and watch something and say, oh, they have it together. It looks like they've gone through some stuff to figure it out and they've got it together, which sometimes is the case, but for the most part, there's always stuff that goes on behind closed doors.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, to that, I think it's interesting, and something that I've learned really in my professional life too is you kind of have to take that stuff with a grain of salt. Like, for example, if you were my client, right, and we were getting on a meeting, why would I get on there and highlight the negative? We know that negative stuff is going to happen in life, right? It's inevitable. So I look at social media as a tool like that. Why am I going to, if that's a tool that I'm using for me, I'm not using that platform to highlight my negatives. You can, and there's going to be no judgment or shade over that. But at the same time, it's I'm going to get on that and highlight all the positive things that are going on in my life, because why not, right? I don't want to put a negative situation out there and let other people feel negative about oneself either. So let's just highlight the positives. But at the same time, I think where the challenge comes in is just letting people, or allowing people to know, or reminding people that things are negative behind the scenes too.
Yeah.
People face good and bad stuff, particularly relationships. I think relationships are the interesting one, because people will post all of these loving pictures and all of these things.
Yeah.
And then behind the scenes, sometimes people might not actually be feeling all that happy. But then at the same time, why are we going to go put all of our business out there negative, right? So that's where I'm you just kind of have to take it with a grain of salt and just understand that there are things that people face too.
It's definitely a balance between, being too personable and also, keeping some of your life private, whether that be relationships or career and everything. You have to have a balance. So obviously sometimes it tends to get lost in the space of, well, they're only highlighting, they're giving the highlight reel of the century here and everything, and it looks to be and appears to be, and also we perceive it to be as perfect, so to speak, or more, glamorous and glorious than, they look like they deal with some shit, and there are a lot of variables, there are a lot of aspects with that, just like anything else, where it looks and appears to be a certain way. And to take that a step further, one of my other points was perfectionism. Is we tend to try and portray things as
perfect,
individual, portray things as being better than they are in some regards. And also, to reiterate the point of, everything is not always as it seems, and sometimes that goes with our own thoughts. Sometimes it's not as bad as it seems. Sometimes it's not as good as it seems either. It's that double-edged sword of being able to figure out and navigate through any space, whether that be romantically in your relationships, you know, with your significant other, with your friends and things like that. Like sometimes with you or with my relationships and things like that, I will sometimes get in my own way and in my own head and like, hey, this is, you know, worse than it actually is. And I get lost in that overthinking and that over, you know, fixating on what actually isn't there because I get in my own way, because I'm being too much of a perfectionist and holding on to this thought and idea of it has to be this way and it needs to be that way, instead of, you know, taking a step back and really just assessing the situation and being like, okay, this is what I would do. This is how I would react. This is how I would go about things. This is what I would say. And I just have to realize, you know, just as an example, that you aren't me, or my partner isn't me, or my other friends and everything, whatever relationship it may be, they are not me. They're not going to make the same decisions that I'm going to make, say the things the same way that I would, or act or go about things the way that I would. And sometimes it's hard to differentiate and separate yourself from the situation to really, like, you know, hold it at face value and see what it actually is.
Right, yeah.
So we just get in our own head. We get in our own way. We try to be too perfect, and we try to hold on to this perfectionism thought and idea of how things should be and how things should go. And sometimes we create more problems for ourselves. Yeah. In a sense.
You know, I mean, I think so. I mean, I know for me personally, that perfectionist mindset kind of pushes me into critical thinking. And, you know, I will say, like, people who think critically, or it's good in certain regard to, like, think critically around certain situations. It's the critical thoughts and the critical inner dialogue where you got to be careful in terms of navigating it, because that's where I tend to get myself in trouble. Is it's really important to talk well to yourself, and sometimes because I hold myself to such a standard that there's no bend, and I can really, like, push on myself. Like for example, like, one of the things that I face, and I'll, you know, kind of be vulnerable right now, is, you know, I am a pretty physical person. I have a pretty extensive, like, workout regimen that I go through. And I oftentimes, like, where I get into my head is like, I work out so much to why do I not look any different? But at the end of the day, there's a thing for health, right? I want to be around for a long time. I want to feel good. I want to operate for a long time, whatever future endeavors that I get into, right? I don't look bad, but in my head, I'm like, man, I do all this work to look okay. And I'm like, so then you can kind of get into this comparison space where I compare myself to other people, but then I'm also like, well, I need to be better. Mm-hmm. I have to be better. And then it's when you start getting into you have to do this, and it's all of that added pressure on the back end. So now it's taking away from something that I really genuinely do to help clear my head and make myself feel better. Yeah. Is that space. So you got to be careful with that space, and you really got to take a moment to kind of slow yourself down on occasion.
I think you bring up, like, that, for example, with the whole that touches on, that's one specific thing that touches on several topics, especially that we have. The one being the comparison, and then perfectionism. But it also touches on another one that I had, being, especially as men, pride.
Yeah.
We're very prideful, which is both great and also sometimes our biggest downfall as men, is being too prideful, in that we are afraid to speak up. Not even necessarily speak up, but we're afraid to speak up. As an example, we're afraid to speak up to ourselves as well. Yeah. I think that's probably one of the bigger challenges we face with that, is that we hold a lot of things in, whether we realize it or not, and we're too prideful to have that conversation with ourselves, or have that conversation with our friends, or whatever. Like, something may be, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be something negative. Yeah. It could be something that, you know, a simple thought that we've thought about, or an idea that we have, or whatever. But as men, we tend to be more prideful in, they're not going to like that, or they're going to give me shit for it, or whatever the case may be, or it just may not come across the way that I want it to because I don't necessarily know the right way to bring up this idea. It could be really cool, but you're too prideful to portray that image and let it all out there or come across in a certain way or whatever. And not that it's a bad thing or not that it's a negative thing, and I'm not trying to harp on it like it's a negative thing, but we can hold ourselves back in some regard.
Yeah.
And kind of pigeonhole ourselves in not even doing something or even having a conversation, which could, essentially, like, for example, this podcast. If one of us had not been prideful enough to, say, hey, let's do a podcast, I think we could really, create some waves and stuff with that or whatever and just hold it back. We wouldn't be here right now having this inner dialogue with ourselves and laying it out and giving ourselves a space to communicate freely together and with you guys that are watching and listening and stuff. It's just like that's a big example. It's just I think pride is probably, as a man, the biggest.
It can be a challenge.
Heel.
Yeah, it can be a challenge because I mean, there's times where you want to have it and it's a really good thing, and it can be really awesome to see when it does, kind of organically come up through good events that happen in your life. But then at the same time, it can coincide with stubbornness, I feel like.
Oh, for sure.
And that it's when
because us men are, not stubborn at all.
I know
I don't give a fuck what your zodiac sign is.
Out of this duo, you are more stubborn, I think, than I am.
Probably.
But I do have my moments, and I will say when I have my moments, they're bad. They're bad. And
no, never, dude. You're perfectionist.
No,
you're perfectionism.
Yeah, it's so bad. It's over everything. Like if my name's gonna be attached to it, it's got to be good. Can't be mid. But then that's just unrealistic, and I gotta often slow myself down and understand that. Yeah. But again, it's to what I just said. You referenced that pride, right? The one statement I just said is, if my name's attached to it, it's got to be good. That's a pride thing.
Yeah.
It is. That's what fuels some of that. So it's like, I got to make sure that this is good. But then why do I take it personally if it's not? Sawing logs. I can hear it.
Oh, man, bro.
It is. I could see it needling you over there, and I could feel
I
it.
Just hear it.
Yeah. So our buddy's taking a nap, and we can hear him, and it's really little nappy poo, Brenty boo. Hope you're getting a good nappy, baby. Anyways, no.
That goes into the other point, distraction.
Distraction. Yeah, I could see you physically feeling it. Yeah.
Funny.
No, it was funny. But yeah, dude. No, there's a lot been going on. A lot of things throughout the month of September that I would say I could factor in as some demons in September this year, I swear.
Oh, the biggest demon I think of the year that we face has just started, and that would be fantasy football.
Football
coming back, and us men, we like our fantasy football, we like our bets, we like our
shit
talking and stuff. This is our time of year, and I'm not happy about it. But this is the first time I've ever started 0-3.
Yeah, I'll see you in the chip.
See you in the chip.
See you in the chip, guy. It's been you and me the last 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
In the championship
Ironically,
game.
I took a hiatus. I come back, and then I make it to the chip. The first year, made it to the chip. I wasn't number 1 seed. Last year, I was actually number 1 seed through most of the season, and then playoffs, and then I picked. So I guess the last 2 years, I just picked too good of guys because we get in there. My guys don't need to playoff spot, so they don't fucking play, and then your guys do, and then I just get my coals raked over.
For everybody who's listening, I don't want to hear shit about it being a 6, 8, 2-man, 4-man league. No, it's a 10-man. There are valid fantasy football players in the league. The last 2 years, so this is why I haven't hit the panic button yet. Speaking of this a little bit, I went 8-6 the last 2 years, and I've ended up winning the championship. Albeit against you. You had the better teams. And I'm going for the 3-peat. Now, I haven't panicked yet because I only have 2 losses so far. I still have 4 to go.
And we're ironically playing each other this week.
We are playing this week, so give me my third. We'll have the same record.
We're recording ahead of time.
We'll be just fine. But no, I will say, speaking of some Demons of the Month, that's actually, let's get back on track here. Demons of the Month, Fangio's Bush, fuck you. Gangrene, fuck you. That's all I have to say about that. Y'all suck. I'll see you again. Don't worry about that.
Those are your 2 losses?
Yeah, those are my 2 losses.
Okay.
Assholes. Brad beat my ass, bro. He took belt to it. I'm having a hard time sitting here today. He beat me.
You know you're wearing his Philly green, too.
Yeah, I shouldn't have done that. But no, he deserves it. He beat the shit out of me, so I guess I can wear green today. It was a 157-72.
Didn't even crack 80.
Didn't even crack 80.
Didn't even crack 75.
I got my ass smacked. And then we have Joe talking a bunch of shit. And then he ended up, Derrick Henry fumbled twice. And then
I saw that.
Yeah, what a bummer, huh?
That's crazy.
Crazy. What about you, Guy? Any demons this month? What you been going through this month?
Fantasy's been my biggest demon so far.
Yeah.
Just, I've never been 0-3 in anything.
Are you sure?
I'm too competitive.
Are you sure?
0-3. I made it a point to never be 0-3 in my life.
Yeah.
I at least have to finish 500.
Fair. That's fair.
Because if you ain't first, you're last, and right now I'm last.
You're losing.
Spot to be.
You're losing to 2 girls.
It's a bad spot to be.
It's a bad spot to be.
Well, 2 actual, some questionable.
It's not funny.
I wasn't talking about you, but if the shoe fits.
Okay, fuck off.
If the shoe fits.
No, and you want to know what, though? I was thinking about this the other day. And since we're talking about a bunch of demons and all this stuff, it's been frustrating as all hell because I went up to the north recently. It's a
On purpose?
Yeah, on purpose. It was a foreign land, and it just kind of made me think of the Cary acronym a little bit. So for anyone who doesn't know the North Carolina area, there is a city called Cary in the Triangle, and it's a confinement area for relocated Yankees. So
one of the many.
One of the many. So really why I bring that up is to just highlight driving and drivers.
Oh,
you want to talk about demons, the roads, the road rage, just the people's attitudes you deal with on the streets, that mix of southern and northern folks in the area. Northern folks speed around everywhere, and they cut turns and flip you off and honk their horn and do all this, and then you got their southern people just putting around. I say all that to say driving in North Carolina sucks, but even more so, let me tell you who the biggest demons on the streets are. Any woman who drives a Nissan Altima, I can't deal with that. Y'all are batshit crazy, and y'all will know what I'm talking about. But also, to coincide with that, any man who drives a Nissan Sentra, you know what I'm talking about. They try to deck them out. They drive them like shit. They sound like fart cannons blasting off the back of them.
The Hondas?
Oh my God, the Hondas are even worse. But I'm not gonna get into that because now we're moving into certain spaces that I really don't want to touch on today.
We'll be here half the weekend
but
talking about that.
That's right. But those are my demons of the month. The Braves didn't make the playoffs. I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
The Saints are 0-3. I can't talk about it.
It's tough. It's a tough spot to be. And my Bengals lost their QB. Ironically, your QB in fantasy. You snaked him before me in the draft, and then he goes down.
Karma.
That's karma for you.
That's what karma.
You get.
It hit me
that
hard.
3-peat's looking a little scarce. I'll see you in the chip, though.
See you in the chip, guy.
I'll see you in the chip.
If you beat me this year, I'm just gonna be like, it's about damn time. I still won the 2 out of 3 battle.
True.
But knowing you'd say it's 3 out of 5, and then here we are.
We'll be back again next year.
We'll be back again next year. See you in the chip then too.
I'll see you in the chip then.
Yeah. But nah, dude. What about you? What you got going on?
I think probably my biggest demon this month has been, my other point being burnout, which we all deal with. We all face.
You've been pretty quiet this month.
I have been. I've been very busy. So far, I've had work, and I know I only work 4 days and everything, but usually Friday is my day to get all my errands done and get everything. This Friday's the day of the week where most places are open. Some places aren't open Saturday, Sunday. So Friday is my day to try and cram some stuff in and get some stuff in and taken care of. And I had a course that I took this past weekend, Saturday, Sunday from 8 to 6 both days. So, my weekend was all tied up, and then going right back into work after that on Sunday, and then leading into Monday. So, just haven't had time to really rest, recharge, and everything. So just you start to feel that little bit of burnout. You start to feel that little bit of compared to jet lag and things like that. You feel out of it and whatnot. You're out of sorts, and you're not really you kind of have that out of body experience, I like to say.
Yeah.
Is sometimes how it feels, where you're kind of like watching yourself and you're like, dude, wow. Like,
Wow. Yeah.
it's been hectic. It's been crazy,
hectic,
but
and a lot of stuff going on.
you know, burnout is also natural.
Yeah. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at
Oh yeah,
I'm laughing at the freaking log machine going on over there.
you should get up and demonstrate that Snapchat you made that one day.
Oh my god. No, you know what? We'll post it on a clip.
Oh,
I still have it.
That'll be
so
funny.
if you capture the audio of it on this, I'll send you the video.
I got you.
And then we can make a clip
There
out of it.
probably is audio in that too.
What?
Your Snapchat.
Oh yeah.
No.
Oh no, there was, but we'll have to remove that.
That's funny.
Because it was explicit.
Yeah. Very.
But no, I feel that actually. It's been a pretty quiet month. I actually, burnout is interesting because it takes me a while to kind of feel burnt out of things. I don't really get there super easily. I travel for work a lot. I have a pretty busy schedule with work, and I also, I'm pretty busy in terms of like what my days look like. I'll go to work, I go to the gym, I do all my stuff, and then try to squeeze in, time for friends, family, you name it. The interesting piece about it, though, is my first big burnout that I hit was probably in August, like late July, early August. And it's been a while. I won't go into the details. I think you know why, all things considered.
Yeah.
Just having to deal with all that. I dealt with a big project, a lot of back and forth travel for that, having to move in between all that, and finally getting all settled down and settled in. I think it was just a long summer. It's been a really challenging year, and I needed a month to just kind of reset and get my mind right. And I think I'm just kind of getting out of that now. It bled over into September a little bit, and I was having a hard time like remaining on task and finding the motivation. My motivation was real low for a little bit, just because I just didn't feel like doing anything. But I felt great. I just didn't want to do anything. So it's just.
I think that brings up a good point to kind of highlight for you guys. And you hear him talk about the time frame in which he essentially needed to restart, reset, refocus. Having a little bit of burnout. And even for you, it seemed like it was a little bit longer than it maybe needed to be or should have.
Yeah.
But now you're on the backside of it.
Yeah.
You've had that time to deal with it, to be in that moment, in that situation, and deal with your quote unquote burnout. And even as prolonged and stuff as it may have been, you portray, you come across, and it seems as though, and I could just straight up ask you, are you in a better headspace and stuff?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's all right. That's needed. Sometimes you need to, with whatever's going on, and not just talking about burnout, but the good things, the positive things, the bad things, the bad situations, the good situations, whatever it may be. Sometimes you just need to deal with it. Sometimes you just need to be in that moment with it.
Yeah.
And take it on the chin, and have your moments, have your duration of time in which it takes to process, to deal with, to grieve, whatever the case may be, and then come out on the other side. Because there's always the beginning, middle, and end to all that. The things leading up to it, and when it happens. The middle is when you're always dealing with it, and then the end being you come out on the other side and you're either a better person or a not so better person. And if you're not so much a better person, you need to go back into the middle of it and figure it out.
Yeah.
Go a couple rounds with yourself and really,
That's right.
confess your sins.
Yeah. No.
Father, forgive me.
No. Well, that didn't really look like what it was supposed to look like, but it's fine.
I don't care what you thought it was supposed to look like.
But no, I will say this. Well, you make a great point about turning inward and going to fix some of that stuff, because there are a lot of changes that I needed to make, and a lot of things that I still am working on actively. Contrary to popular belief, some people may not think that I'm actually doing that, because
just not to cut you off, but the biggest point there, and I want to make it, is he said it without saying it, is you need to do it for yourself. It doesn't matter, me even being his best friend and his closest friend or whatnot, or closest person, it doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. He needs to do it for himself. You need to do it for yourself. It doesn't matter. Take the time to do it. Do what you need to do and what's best for you. Everyone else and that's in your
Right.
corner or not in your corner will accept it, whether it's, the best thing or not. Sometimes you just have to do what you need to do, and the space is going to change a little bit. The dynamic may be a little different or whatever while you're dealing and processing, but it's important to do that. So.
That's right. No, it's a great point, and it kind of takes me into what I was really wanting to say, and I'm going to look at the camera when I say this. I'll look at the plethora of them. Take accountability, men and women. This goes to both. When shit happens and you turn your back on it and you run the other way, coward. It's cowardly. I cannot stand it. And I'm going to say that about myself. I ran from accountability for years, letting the wrong things dictate my behaviors and my actions for a really, really long time. So for the people who don't think that accountability is important, you're wrong. Take it, own it, and let's move on from it. You don't need to let your bad choices define who you are, but as long as you take accountability and you own it and you set in it and then you put yourself in a position to work on it and move on, you're good. And that's what I've been doing, and I'm going to continue to do so. It isn't going to change overnight, but what I can do is just put my best foot forward with it. And, I tend to be one of those people, I can laugh and joke and really have this innate ability to meet people where they're at. But when you get me alone is where that vulnerable context and that inside will come out. And I'll tell you, I can joke and have fun. I'm not going to bring the vibe of the function down, right? But I also, at the same time, there's a time and place for everything. Mm-hmm. So I'll talk about my shit. Take accountability and own it, and let's move on. Because I'm tired of people who say, accountability is important, but they don't do shit about it. They like to talk about it. They don't want to do it.
There's also that aspect of accountability with some of the other stuff we were talking about. You need to take accountability for yourself to yourself.
Yeah.
Hold yourself accountable for what your goals are. Hold yourself accountable for the things that you need to work through, on a personal level, in your career and at home with your family and stuff like that. Accountability is one of those, it's like walking a tightrope.
That's right.
It's very fickle. It's very finicky. It can be, extremely challenging, but it can also be very easy. It's as difficult or as easy as you make it, as cliche as that sounds, but it really is. And it's also one of those things where it's also very rewarding to hold yourself accountable, to let your friends and your close ones and your partners and stuff hold you accountable, create that space where it's a good free-form flow and stuff for you to be like, hey, I need you to make sure that I get this done, or hey, I need you to make sure that I do this and whatever the case may be, just, for shits and giggles and examples. But, accountability and being able to, pat yourself on the back and everything, through it is probably really, really one of the more rewarding parts of it and pieces that we can deal with.
Yeah, no, agreed. And people run from it too much. And it actually is annoying to me.
I think with that and pride and stuff, people run from a few aspects of it, because let's be honest, if we want to break it down, running from anything is probably the easiest thing to do. It's courageous, it's prideful, it's impactful and everything to be able to deal with anything face on, deal with it and let it beat you down, because it's not always going to be easy.
Yeah,
but take on the challenge, take on the gauntlet of whatever, is in front of you. And, be that as it may, it's not always going to be easy. It's always, sometimes more often than not, it's going to be more difficult than anything. But the beginning, middle, and end, like we talk about, you come out of it one way or another, either a stronger person, a wiser person, or an all-around better person. Yeah. And sometimes it's needed. Sometimes we need those trials and tribulations to be able to grow, adapt, learn, because we're always learning. We're always developing, with the everyday world around us. It's changing, and the new obstacles and situations that we're put in on a day-to-day basis. It's sometimes we need that space. We need that challenge. And as men, we love a good challenge. We're very competitive by nature. So play to your strengths, whether it's the comparison stuff that we talked about, the distractions and the pride and whatever it may be. Play to your strengths. You don't always have to be your own worst enemy, even though we're far too great at that as humans. But it's just sometimes you can complicate things and create this cloud of chaos in your mind and in your heart.
Yeah.
For whatever situation that you may be in. And
honestly, you got to be intentional with it. Because in my thing,
that's what I was looking for.
Yeah, because if you're not intentional, with those decisions, those behaviors, or when you let them free flow, that's when you're gonna find yourself in a little bit of a situation where you might not be feeling the best after you do certain things. I know that all too well.
You create that cloud of chaos.
That's right, and there's a lot of chaos that can come from it. But at the same time, what's really been interesting is, intentionality right now is huge with where I'm at in my life. Like, I'm not going to spend any time with anyone who isn't going to meet me where I'm at in terms of energy, in terms of spending time with me back in return. Family's included in that. Like, I know people, really are like, oh, you should, prioritize time with your family and spend time and do all of these things. Like, that's great. Like, family is what you make it, at least in my personal experience. Without having to go too far into my past and all my big life details, family's what you make it. My family are the people who really want to spend time with me, and I really want to spend time with them. Yeah. And that's how that's going to be.
It's not blood related.
It doesn't have to be in all situations. Now, I love my family. I want to see them. At the same time, we got to make more of an effort. And, not only that, as, speaking of accountability too, is if someone calls something out, like, I'm intentional about who I surround myself with. Like, if something's going on and we're going to talk about something, I want, my friends to be able to, us have a conversation, whether we agree or disagree, and we can talk about stuff, and we can talk about how things were making us feel, and we can move on from it and acknowledge it. We don't have to sweep it under the rug. It doesn't have to be some big blow up situation. It's just two people talking to put it out there so we're aware of it. Mm-hmm. And then if, how each person was feeling, we can own it, take accountability for it, and let's move on.
I think that honestly could be another whole topic and episode or so. But I think just a quick little point on that is it's okay to have that free space and time and moment to talk about things and everything, and it doesn't always have to feel like it's an attack or feel like it's you're always doing something wrong if something's always brought up, or sometimes it's just as simple as someone's trying to communicate. And albeit that there are better ways and there are better phrases and things for those times and situations to be able to have that communication and open up the door for that and whatnot. But at the same time, it's also important to have that time, have that free space and stuff with your friends, with your significant other, with your family, and your coworkers or whoever it may be. Yeah. It's important to have that open dialogue. It's important to be able to not only open up and accept and invite criticism, invite constructive conversation, and be able to listen without responding. I think that's a big problem that a lot of people have. Is we're so quick to respond versus listening. It's defensive, and hearing what we have to say, but it doesn't always need to be.
It doesn't.
I know sometimes it comes from trauma and past situations and everything, but we as people are always needing to grow, change, and develop. We're not perfect. We make mistakes. We have things that we've been through that have affected us, sometimes for the better, sometimes we still have things that have affected us that contribute to our decisions every day. Yeah. And, sometimes it affects us and it drives us to, be more on the defensive side, to have more of a wall up and everything like that, which it's okay. You're human. It's part of nature. It's a part of, growing and developing as a person. And there's no book on it. Sometimes it takes longer, and sometimes we don't realize that we're still dealing with some of those things, and that's okay. Yeah. I think it's just, being able to openly admit that to yourself. I don't need you to admit it to me. I don't need you to admit it to anyone else. Just admit it to yourself. Yeah. And, just process it and deal with it and invite both conversation for yourself, from yourself, but also from the people that are close to you. I think that's probably a really big key thing here. Is some people just want what's best for you. Some people just want, you to really think things out and weigh things out and everything. It's not a personal attack. It's not,
right.
It doesn't need to be more than what it is.
Yeah, and no, I think one of the key spaces too is I don't want to be surrounded with people who can't have those types of conversations in my life anymore. Like, for example, and I think it's really interesting, right? It's like when you have dynamics where you and I are friends, right? And you get a significant other. You now have a roommate who lives around, and it's all those things. And when those people start integrating their lives together and start hanging out and spending a lot of time together, right? When things happen, a different dynamic forms. So just because like I may be an extension of you, right? I'm your friend, no matter what happens, like in any sort of relationship building thing. Let's say, you and your significant other go move somewhere else, right? And your roommate goes a different direction. Let's just say there was like a problem that formed in between there, right? And yeah, I may have opinions on it, right? It's not really my place to go stir the pot and try to drive a wedge, but what I can do is, because we're all friends, right? This is what I mean by that dynamic, is when a lot of people start spending a lot of time together, I prefer people who are objective and not overly loyal. I'm loyal to you, like I'm your friend, right? But if you did something that affected one of these other people, I'm going to call that out. And I'm going to say that. Because what I'm not wanting to do is blind loyalty. I don't want to sit there and be like, oh, you caused this. Like, no, I'm not going to do that. Let's call out what it is, right? And like, let's say you and Yale got into a little something, and I took her side, like, bro, like, you actually handled that wrong. It's accountability.
Yeah,
this is what it is. Yeah.
And it's also not, sometimes I think when we're sitting here and we're talking about things, we can tend to sometimes portray things as more on the negative side and everything. And that's not what we're trying to do. It's just easier to make those examples because we all relate to it.
Yeah.
And it could be something as simple as, just how you went about a situation or whatever. And we're trying to discuss what we're all going to eat as a group for dinner and everything like that. Something so simple and stupid as, fucking food choice.
That's right. Simple stuff.
It doesn't even necessarily have to be something so extreme and negative and everything, like you made the wrong decision in your relationship. It's just, those examples tend to just flow naturally out of us, even just you guys amongst your friend groups and family and whatnot. Those are the things that you'll tend to talk about. So we just want to make it a point that, it's not always negative. It's not always so extreme and everything, but it is good to have the point that you're actually trying to make. It's important to have that space to be able to openly communicate, to openly have that floor and being like, hey, not to call you out and everything, but, I think you thought it this way. Maybe you need to think about it and look at it from this point of view.
Yeah, because, those are going to be who the best people are in your life, right? Like, I know you and I push on each other a lot, but then we also agree on a lot of stuff too. So it's like,
we've had that time and chemistry to sit there and build, and we've created a friendship and everything where if you don't know us, you would probably be like, I don't know how the fuck those two guys are friends, which is probably fairly accurate.
Because you hear a lot of shit talk. Yeah,
we shit talk a lot. We give each other a lot of flack when it comes to certain things, but it's I guess the best example, which is kind of a shit example to be honest, is like our friendship is like tug of war. We're trying to keep each other in balance and not fall into the pit of all the bullshit and chaos and everything else. And sometimes he's winning and sometimes I'm winning. And it's not that we're trying to outcompete each other. It's not that we're trying to be better than each other. It's we hold each other to a certain standard as individuals outside of our friendship. And then when it comes to our friendship, I look at you like a brother, you look at me like a brother, so we have even higher expectations when it comes into that space.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just got to be, you're human. Sometimes you need space, and I'm going to let you do your thing.
And it isn't always the prettiest either. Yeah. And just like this month, like I said, it's a quiet month. Mm-hmm. Like we spoke a few times this month, really?
Yeah.
Hadn't been very much, but like, again, we have a good tell on one another. But I think it's important to highlight that, you know, it's not always pretty in relationships and friendships, whether, you know, it be a best friend or a significant other. I think it's really easy to highlight that out. But you say something really interesting, that like tug of war reference and whatnot, is like we balance one another out really well. And
more like a teeter-totter versus tug of war.
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing, right? And I will say, like, we choose to live our lives very differently. We live very different lifestyles. However, you know, I think that's what helps make this what it is, because we're bringing two different perspectives to each side of the table, but at the same time, we have a lot of shared interests and a lot of shared traits and a lot of things where we really connect on it, and it's really woven into the foundation. I would say what we were talking about is that foundation.
Yeah.
All of those shared interests and, you know, those common things between you and I, and then everything else, you know, the rest of the house that we've been building for this long. It's ebbed and it's flowed and it's pulled back and forth, but we have a house that's building.
We've had
and growing.
Few walls get knocked down and had to restart and restructure.
Yeah.
And that's
but
common.
It is
that's
what it
okay.
is. Yeah. Had to make a change. Yeah. That's fine.
I think we kind of highlighted that in the pilot episode about, you know, I just as an example, and more like black and white, and you're very gray and everything. And, you know, we're two different people. We're two different perspectives. We're two different bodies, two different minds and everything. And sometimes it's very apparent that we're on different sides to a topic or whatever. Yeah. But, and you guys may have already somewhat seen that and will continue to see that in some of these episodes that we don't always agree. And we have two completely different viewpoints and everything. And, you know, that's okay. Yeah. It's all, you know, it's all in, you know, the comfort and everything of both yourself and your friendships and your relationships and things like that. You know, it doesn't always have to be, you know, what you both agree on. It doesn't always have to be. And then this, you know, to take that a step further with yourself. Yeah. Sometimes you're going to be at a tug of war with yourself. Yeah. More often than not, probably just tug of war with yourself than any other external or outside forces or people. And it's okay to agree with yourself in times, and it's okay to be on the opposite perspective of what you're dealing with, and have that inner dialogue and that inner discussion, and be like, okay, am I actually going about this the right way? Am I, you know, doing things the way that I need to? You have that perspective battle and constructive criticism conversation with yourself, and, you know, you kind of figure it out more often than not the hard fucking way. I don't know about you guys, but for me, I figure everything out the hard way. Like, I learn best that way.
I feel like all the lessons that I learned in life have been hard. And it just doesn't come easy to me. No,
I think most people will probably say, "Oh, I learned things the hard way, and I always choose." But let's, you know, if you want to sit there and break it down, sometimes you do learn things not so hard. Yeah. But some people, typically men, learn things the absolute hardest fucking
falling
way.
On their ass.
Yeah. Fucking knock me down a damn hole and pick me back up. I don't want your help. I'll get out myself. But, you know, we're fucking stubborn individuals. We're very difficult. Sometimes we're difficult to talk to and be with and be around, but
that's why we're here, right? To put it out there, talk about it.
This is what this space is for.
Too many people hold on to it.
Demons trying to be gentlemen.
That's right. Just they hold on to it, don't talk about it, and here we are. And let's keep it moving. But no, I mean, it's been a good month. Things have been great. We're moving in the right direction, but definitely got a lot of exciting stuff coming up for everybody in October, November. Holiday season coming up too. Got a lot of big plans. So
a lot of big plans. A lot of episodes on the horizon. We did take a week off last week.
Full transparency, we had a scheduling conflict and ran into some technical difficulties on the back end, so apologize. It happens, but do apologize for that. But we do have episodes in the hole and ready to go. So we'll have plenty posted for you. So we do want to pose a question, and we encourage you guys to comment your answers down below. Is what were some of your demons that you dealt with this month, and how did you deal with those demons? So let us know in the comments below. And again, don't forget, like, subscribe, follow, rate.
We've got a lot of content, a lot of episodes coming up your way, and we're getting to that point to where we're probably going to start, polling you guys and bringing you guys in a little bit more to use you guys and your feedback and your discussions and things like that. We've got some ideas and stuff, but again, like, comment, subscribe, rate, drop us a comment, let us know what your demons and stuff are.
Absolutely. And I want to say something too here is, I know you mentioned this earlier, and I don't want to drag this out. I know this episode was Demon of the Month, and we talked about some things that might carry a negative undertone and how we handle it and work on it. Be prepared for a Gentleman of the Month as well. I think we will highlight both ends of the equation for you guys, so that way you know that it's not just one-sided. But anyways,
we're not always trying to harp on negative. Like I said, we made that point a little bit ago. It's easier just to bring those references up. They're more relatable. But we do want you guys to find your gentleman side and be in touch with yourselves, not, oh, wow. But you know what I mean. Come on, let's be realistic, fellas.
Yeah.
But we'll see you on the next one. And y'all enjoy the rest of your month and take care of those demons.
Yep. Love you. Bye.